okay? Let's go back to trends. Trends are behaviors that we observe in bits and pieces. That's what I said earlier. And until we can wrap our arms around them and put a name to them, they really just are bits and pieces that are out in the environment. Once we see enough of it and we can label it, we start calling them trends. And trends really start out because people have a need. It's a significant change in behavior that we observe, and that need in the individual or that community is not being met. So behavior starts to change so that they can meet that need. Most of us never really observe these changes in behavior, and we're not paying attention, mainly because we're so busy with our own lives. But I will tell you that the cues are out there every day, and for what's next, we need to be paying attention to those. The cues are out there, and the reason we don't pay attention to them is because we're busy. Or more importantly, we just are in a position where our daily lives do not allow us the freedom or the time to be paying attention. It's difficult to observe trends and then require some change in our own behavior because, we innately resist change. We also are very comfortable with what we're currently doing. So it's difficult, even though it's right before our very eyes, it's very difficult for us to see these changes and these trends and these cues. Oftentimes, these trends tend to identify areas that would help us in what we're doing, what we need to do next. So I want to talk to you a little bit about these trends, and in particular for this audience that has to do with higher education as students and faculty, I think these trends are very important. Let me tell you, I've been doing this for about 30 plus years. I've been a researcher, a qualitative researcher, an entrepreneur, and a business owner for about a little over 30 years. And really what I did mostly in my career was qualitative research, which meant that I went around talking with individuals, one-on-one interviews, small groups, focus groups, triads, and so forth. And I was always trying to listen to how they described their life, their reactions to issues, the needs they had, the problems that they had, and sort of trying to get a cue in some way as to what the behavior and what that was saying so that I could share that with my clients. What really happened was I was getting all these wonderful cues and putting them to good use. However, I didn't have the bigger context, right? I didn't really see how does this behavior from this interview, how this is being described, really fit into the big picture. So I started looking at trends and studying trends. And so, to be honest with you, I needed the context to be able to help my clients. I am not a trend spotter. There are people that do that, do a fantastic job at that. That is not me. I would call myself a trend groupie, okay? I, in fact, love to study trends. I like to look at them. I like to pull them apart. I like to take this one and put it with this one, see what comes up in the mix. So it's really about studying and understanding trends. So today we're going to talk about 3. And that's interesting. That wasn't the slide that's supposed to come up. We'll go with it anyway. Okay, there's 3 trends. There's joining, there's betterment. Let me see if this works this way. Betterment and jailbreaking. We're going to be talking about those 3 trends. All right. So let's go back to joining. Before we do that, I have 3 questions to pose to you. Are you aware of these trends? Are you leveraging these trends? Or are you doing business as usual? Remember those 3 questions when we're going through these trends. Let's start with joining here. Oh, I have a nice little bug on this thing here. There we go. A little stink bug. We don't want to kill that one. Okay. So let's talk about joining. Joining is a trend about the joy in learning and the joy in gaining knowledge. And traditionally, knowledge was gained and gotten in the university setting, the college setting, on the campus. What we're finding now is that joining really refers to the behavior that we're seeing with current students and potential students with how they are sharing information. And we heard that a little bit when Christy's talked. We talked about the millennials. The idea of being able, at the push of a button, drop of a hat, post a question, get feedback on a topic, is really the behavior that we see. And so almost everyone in this room is doing that to some extent. What's really happening now with students, the ones that are in universities now, the ones coming up the pathway, is really that is taking that experience of joining with others and learning and removing it and taking it outside the walls of the university. So the university is missing the opportunity for that experience of exchange and engagement. And I'm not sure if I were a university, that's where I'd want to be. So the joy of learning, of being able to exchange information from either someone within the same city, across the state, across the globe. There are sites and platforms out there that are available to anyone that can post questions about a subject matter, a topic, an area of study, and get information. The difference here is we're losing some control. As universities, we're losing some control of the content and sort of the overall pedagogy that we've put together for our students when they spend a 4-year time frame with us. What happens sometimes when we're out seeking the information ourselves, we may only get 1 or 2 points of view. Hopefully, in your experience as a college student, you are getting multiple points of view so that you can then do some self-discovery about where you want to stay. So the challenge to universities are, you can let this go on outside your walls and not do anything about it. Or you can make a decision that we want to incorporate that or leverage that or use that to our advantage as an institution. Now the question is, it changes your behavior as an institution. It's no longer the professor in the classroom teaching that class, those 30, those 60, those, 200 sometimes. What really happens is that behavior must change. So the challenge to institutions are, do you want to stay the way you are, lose that fantastic experience that's going on, have no contribution to that experience, or do you want to be part of that exchange? I would challenge you that this is not going to change, and the institutions are the ones that are needing to go in the direction of this trend. So that's joining. The next trend is betterment. Betterment really deals, and you're probably familiar with this trend. Betterment really relates to, and there's a lot of this going on, like right now you can measure everything. You can measure how many steps you take. You can measure how much sleep you get, how much, the Fitbit and this and that, or your calorie count, how many, how far you go, and so on and so forth. That betterment is really sort of in a physical perspective. The trend now with students today and the students that are coming up, it has broadened its reach, not only from a physical perspective, but what kind of life do I want to design, and what kind of life do I want to have to contribute. Traditionally, the message that colleges and universities have been giving to students has been good grades in high school, go to university, graduate, get a great job, big money, corner office, right? That's the track. That's why we come. And really, that messaging, that positioning for universities is losing its sort of value. Because we know and we see students today and students in the future are seeing that promise is not necessarily being upheld. So that promise, that positioning from the university that come here, take good grades, graduate, get a great job, what was it, that $400,000 salary we heard earlier of the MBAs? Well, there are a lot of MBAs out there that don't have a job right now. So the question is, our millennials are saying to me, I'm not buying into that message. I'm not disillusioned. I'm just switching my expectations. I want a better life. I want to have a purpose. I want to be able to contribute. So what does that mean for universities and institutions? Two things. Your messaging needs to change in the sense of big job, big money, corner office, to a message that really captures this idea of a better and more fulfilling life in some way. So messaging is important in the future, and also the idea of curriculum. How are we going to change the curriculum to capture some of this information that helps our individuals, our students, and our young people to have the kind of life they want? Leadership skills, collaboration skills, any kind of skill that enhances really on the soft side as a member of a community. Millennials are looking for the opportunity to not only have a better life, but to contribute to the society at large, and they are interested in causes. And if they don't get it within the institutions, they're going to get it outside the institution. Okay, third trend, jailbreaking. Jailbreaking usually refers to an individual that wants to modify or change an operating system, usually of an Apple product, the iPad, the iPhone, and so forth. They want to modify it to their use. They want to be able to go outside of the Apple constraints and modify it. What we're talking about jailbreaking a degree is really about going outside the curriculum or the program that has been created within the university. How can I create and design my own education? Not everyone will do this, obviously, but there are enough students out there, and the trend is in that direction, that universities need to pay attention. The idea of being able to go outside of the university wall to complete an education is becoming more and more relevant and more credible. We have resources out there, even though they're in their infancy, that are giving credentials, that are giving badges for completion of work and skills, marketable skills, that are giving certifications, so that in the sense that students can go outside of the walls of the university, get those credentials, get those badges, get those certificates, and build position themselves on a platform like LinkedIn to promote themselves for a career and a job. What's interesting today is that employers are in fact giving a lot of legitimacy to those badges, those credentials, and those certificates. And so really for the university, the certification and bypassing the university are the two things to really be worried about with regards to jailbreaking. Because if I can take 1 or 2 years at a university and then go back out and get all my credentials and my badges and my certificates and go out and post this, and it is legitimized in the marketplace by employers, I really do not need to spend my time in a university for 4 years. That has huge implications on institutions. So again, thinking about trends and in the future, the real question is, how are we going to address these things? How are we as institutions going to address these things that are being shown to us in bits and pieces? We are identifying them as trends and will have huge implications on us. You ignore these trends at your own peril as an institution. There are institutions that are doing things about this, taking advantage and leveraging these trends, and there are institutions that are shutting them down. Do you think the institutions that are shutting them down, do you think the students are going to not find a way to go around that in some way? They certainly will. I know these students will. So the idea here is to be aware of, leverage, and move forward with these trends. So, it's not going to change. The trends are going to be there. More and more people are going to be jumping on that trend. So we as institutions need to jump on. We need to embrace the trend. We need to leverage it to our advantage. And we need to hurry because we've got to catch up. Thank you.